This KFAN podcast is sponsored by Builders and Remodelers, exclusive Twin Cities provider of Elements Windows. Get the highest quality windows at unmatchable value. Visit buildersandremodelers.com for more details.
This message is sponsored by Greenlight. With school out, summer is the perfect time to teach our kids real-world money skills they'll use forever. Greenlight is a debit card and the #1 family finance and safety app used by millions of families, helping kids learn how to save, invest, and spend wisely. Parents can send their kids money and track their spending and saving, while kids build money confidence and skills in fun ways. Start your risk-free Greenlight trial today at greenlight.com/iHeart. That's greenlight.com/iHeart.
Looking for excitement? Chumba Casino is here. Play anytime, play anywhere. Play on the train, play at the store, play at home, play when you're bored. Play today for your chance to win and get daily bonuses when you log in. So what are you waiting for? Don't delay. Chumba Casino is free to play.
Experience social gameplay like never before. Go to Chumba Casino right now to play hundreds of games, including online slots, bingo, Slingo, and more. Live the Chumba life at ChumbaCasino.com.
Where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Did you know using your browser in incognito mode doesn't actually protect your privacy? Take back your privacy with IPVanish VPN. Just one tap and all your data, passwords, communications, browsing history, and more will be instantly protected. IPVanish makes you virtually invisible online. Use IPVanish on all your devices, anytime you go online at home and especially on public Wi-Fi. Get IPVanish now for 70% off a yearly plan with this exclusive offer at ipvanish.com/audio.
Hardcore football.
Hey, Pete Bercich, what's going on, my brother?
Mr. Allen, are we ready yet? We're not far away.
No, we're
We're a month away.
A month from Saturday, preseason game against the Houston Texans, radio and TV and radio, and somebody who may be following it from afar, but will not be preparing the equipment for it because, lo and behold, he did that for nearly a half century and recently became a 2025 recipient of Pro Football Hall of Fame's Award of Excellence for his elite career as equipment manager for the Minnesota Vikings for all 47 years. His name is Dennis Ryan, and he's nice enough to join us now. Hey, D. Ryan, it's Paul Allen. We got Pete Bercich on the phone, too. What's going on, man?
Hey, not a whole lot. How you doing there, Paul? Pete?
Pretty good, man. Hey, Peter, we got D. Ryan here.
So D, there's not much in this world you like more than talking about yourself, right? So the next 20 minutes is going to be great for you. How was the event? I mean, the awards for Award of Excellence. We've had a number of Minnesota Vikings there. Freddie Zamberletti, to name the one I'm super familiar with. Monty Kiffin was also one of them. But it's for people who. Coaches, I think it's PR, equipment managers, folks that are integral to football, but not quite integral to the fan side of football, which is why I think they created this. But how was the event, and congratulations on the award?
Well, thanks, Pete. Thanks, Paul.
Yeah.
The event was amazing. It was a relaxed, informal event. Completely enjoyable. There wasn't a lot of pressure. I certainly didn't have to speak for 20 minutes, so that made it even better. And I'd say Dan Fouts was the MC, handled it incredibly, as you would expect it with his career in broadcasting and everything else. He's funny. He was relaxed. He made everybody comfortable and made a very enjoyable event.
Hey.
And for me, it was a big deal because I had 63 friends and family from across the country that made the trip to Canton to be there with me, and turned out to be kind of a caravan. And my kids followed us in a car. My wife Laura and I drove along with my brother and brother-in-law, and we made our way to Canton. Stayed the night in South Bend in honor of Pete the night before the event, and then made our way in on Wednesday for the event itself.
All right, so Dennis retired in April of 2023, 47-year tenure with the Minnesota Vikings, working 922 NFL games. Recently went into the Pro Football Hall of Fame via the Awards of Excellence program. Like Lane Kiffin joined 9 to Noon last year to talk about his father, Monty Kiffin, may God rest his soul, and Dennis represents the Vikings this year with the Awards of Excellence, where, like Pete said, there have been several Vikings who have gone in, former Vikings, including the great Fred Zamberletti, since this came to fruition, like right around a half decade ago. And you mentioned everybody who was there, friends and family. I know a lot of Viking staffers were there, a lot of executives and some equipment people and things like that. But your son, now I don't want to mess this up. Your son's name is Ben, right?
Correct.
Okay. Well, when you talk about driving or, like you said, Ben drove there, your family drove or whatever, having gotten to know your son, Ben, as well as I have since you left, because he's part of the game day operations program, home and on the road. Why on the road? Because he and several others will drive the equipment to certain destinations. Not all of them, if it's too far or the weather's bad. And so therefore that's part of the equipment manager job too, that a lot of people wouldn't know, arranging for the equipment to get to destinations, but not necessarily on a plane, right?
Right, and I think more and more teams, the Vikings certainly included, are doing it by truck. And so Ben's been fortunate to work with Terry Bernsteiner, who drives the truck for Mike Parson, and they virtually drove to almost every road trip last year, and I wouldn't doubt if they drive to every one except for Dublin and London this year.
Hey, Dennis, I'm going to ask you another question, then Pete can go ahead and fire as many as he has, because I know, when Pete came in as a player, there was Dennis Ryan. When Pete was a linebackers coach with the Vikings, there was Dennis Ryan. When in 2007, Pete was analyst for the Vikings radio network, there was Dennis Ryan. Likewise for me from 2002 until now. But when it comes to those listening, wondering, what goes into an equipment manager's role? So you're a manager, meaning you have a staff, but what are some keys to that role that really never changed through 47 years?
Well, the thing that never changes is outfitting the players, outfitting the coaches, being responsible for game day communication with coaches and then eventually between the coaches and players. And then just being prepared for every type of weather that might happen, whether it's rain, snow, sleet, whatever the case is, frozen field or artificial turf grass, whatever the case is. I'd say probably the biggest change over that 47 years is working for Stubby. He gave me the opportunity, hired me, and taught me how to do the job, and forever grateful. But above his desk, he always had a sign that said, "If we don't have it, you don't need it." By the time Pete was drafted in 1994, I think, or 95, the sign above the equipment room was, "If we don't have it, FedEx will have it here tomorrow." So,
yeah. Now, D, you kind of just say, we got to have this and we got to have that there. I want you to let the listeners know. It's almost as if you were a Boy Scout, like the perfect Boy Scout in this way. You were always prepared. I mean, I remember a game in San Francisco, 96-ish, it was 97. I think that was the year we were out there when we wore the 7-stud cleats and we didn't know what cleats we were going to wear. And then we go out there and we see that San Francisco has those long black inch long cleats that were supposed to be illegal or whatever. And guys think they always knew better, didn't they? And they said, no, I'm going to wear the short ones. And then next thing you know, you guys are on the benches like a bunch of NASCAR pit crews with drills taking off cleats and putting them back on. Possible snow on turf. You bring the broom ball shoes. I mean, it was insane the amount of things that you thought through and were prepared for. I don't know, off the top of your head, some of the craziest things that you were prepared for.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you calling me a great Boy Scout because I lasted as a Cub Scout, I think, 2 weeks. 2 weeks before I was out of the program. So I do think I had early training, and it did help me later, and I kind of picked up that preparedness thing, and that is the most important thing, is being prepared. But I do remember a game in 2000, Thanksgiving down in Dallas, and we had all the rain turf shoes out, and they're heavy. Guys didn't want to wear them, but a number of guys listened, but a lot of guys didn't. I remember Todd Stussy saying, I'll wear my flats today. And we went out for pregame warm-ups, and Denny's like, are they wearing the right shoes? Well, this guy is, that guy isn't, that guy's not. And he came in and told guys, put the shoes on that Dennis told you to wear. And, of course, Stussy again said, I'm wearing flats. And guys went out on the field, and I just remember in the first quarter, Jeff Brady was being pushed around like he was on skates. And Denny called me over and said, what kind of shoes is he wearing? And, he's wearing flats. He said, he huddled everybody up, told them, put the shoes on that Dennis tells you to wear.
Wow. And
so everybody did change to those rain shoes. And the complexion of the game immediately changed. We had better players, but it started out they had better shoes. But when we evened up that shoe deal, our players shined through.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong here, Dennis Ryan. What we're doing here is we're celebrating football immortality. Somebody I've known since 2002. Pete's known significantly longer. Dennis Ryan, 2025 recipient of Pro Football Hall of Fame's Award of Excellence for his career as equipment manager with the Minnesota Vikings. It was nearly a half century. And in Canton, Ohio, where Dennis now is in the Hall of Fame, this began a handful of years ago, and they honor PR directors, video directors, those with equipment managers, trainers, assistant coaches who never were head coaches. There are 5 categories. Some Vikings that have won this award of excellence include Sherman Lewis, Tom Moore, longtime offensive coordinator for the Indianapolis Colts, and Monty Kiffin and Dennis Ryan. Now, speaking of the word Dennis, in 1998, our mutual friend Chad Ostlin just texted me this. 1998, you and your staff received a game ball. All right, so the Randy Moss coming out party was that Monday Night Football game at Lambeau Field. It was drizzly the entire game. Doug Peterson ended up being the quarterback at the end of the game for the Green Bay Packers, replacing Brett Favre. But Denny, God rest his soul, gave you and your staff game balls for the shoe switch you made at halftime. Is that true?
Well, there's a little mix-up on that. Actually happened in the 2000 Thanksgiving game.
Oh, okay.
Where Denny called out the equipment staff afterwards. No, not only for the getting them into the right shoes.
I got
before the first quarter ended, and then we did have a complete clothing change at halftime. It was a cold rain down there. It was kind of a nasty day, and when everybody got in, they had a fresh set of underclothing and uniforms in their lockers, and everybody made a change, and they got warm and went out and played a great second half. And then he celebrated it after the game with the equipment staff.
Wow.
And forever, I'll be grateful for that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, to give the listeners an idea how prepared Dennis was. Dennis made Dennis Ryan, you made the best coffee ever.
Yes.
I think that you could have left the equipment manager role and started your own coffee chain. It was not the pieces. It was just how you did it. And we lived on it when we played and coached and did whatever. But the problem with that, though, is it kept us hanging around because we had to find the coffee machine. So guys like Christie and Stussy and other ne'er-do-wells would be, hanging around. But I'll never forget being in Mankato and seeing these bins, and you had bins labeled everywhere. And Paul, one of the bins was full of stopwatches. And then he had another bin that was full of whistles. And then he had a third bin, the most Dennis Ryan thing I've ever seen, a third bin that was both whistles and stopwatches in case somebody needed them both. I mean, this is how prepared Dennis Ryan was. It was insane. And I remember seeing the checklist the first time we played in London, and everything had to go through every roll of tape. Everything had to go through customs, and that list had to have been 150 pages long, Dennis.
Well, and Dennis, off that game in London, I'm glad Pete said that. The Vikings were the first team to play in London in 1983 versus the St. Louis Cardinals. But see, then Dennis Ryan, HOF Immortality, had to prepare the team in 88 to go to Sweden, 93 to go to Berlin, 94 to go to Japan. It's quite in vogue. Tokyo. It's quite in vogue for teams to play in Europe these days. But back in 83, Dennis, how tricky was it getting a team ready to play a preseason, not a regular, a preseason game where you got 100 players? I mean, you got like 100 players, mid-'80s. How tough was that?
It was new, obviously, first time anybody traveled overseas. So we started out on the ground floor, and we had to come up with a method and worked with an outfit that helped us get that carnet ready and get ready to travel and get everything on the airplane. But things were a lot simpler back then. You're working with Bud Grant. And it was a preseason game, not a regular season game. So they were willing to have some snafus, but fortunately, I'd say we pretty much went snafu free. But we got there, and the team dressed in the band room, which was actually up in the rafters of the stadium. They only had one locker room. Apparently in soccer, only the home team back then in 83 got a locker room. The visitors came dressed in a bus. Well, we dressed in this band room, and the actual bus for players pulled up before our truck pulled up. The truck pulled up after the bus. I went up to tell Bud, and I thought, oh, God, this isn't going to go well. Tell him, Bud, the truck hasn't arrived yet. It's stuck in, getting through customs, and then apparently they stopped for an English breakfast on the way to the stadium. So Bud gets off the bus. I break the news to him. He says, no big deal. We're in somebody else's country. And he stood there and waited, and sure enough, the truck pulls up a couple minutes later, and Bud told the players to gather them all up, said, hey, everybody grab something and carry it up through the stands to this band room. And they all pitched in, helped get it up there. We got our little practice in and moved on. I'd say, it was one of those things. It'd be a huge deal today, especially if it was a regular season game. But Bud had a way of just handling things and being very practical about it.
Hey, Dennis, you started part-time 75 with the Vikings, went full-time as a member of the equipment staff in 1977. Just 4 years later, in 1981, Dennis became the youngest equipment manager in the National Football League at 21 years of age. So when I see the year 1977, I think Super Bowl, and I think the Vikings last time they were in a Super Bowl. Assumedly you were there. And if so, what was it like?
So the Super Bowl was in 77, January of 77. I was working for Stubby in 76.
Oh.
And I was also still in high school and was captain of the wrestling team. And I let Stubby know early on that, mid-November, I'm done. I have to start wrestling, and I can't come into the locker room anymore. Well, a couple weeks ahead of that, I reminded him, and he gave me an offer. He told me, no, you come do your job any time of day. I don't care if it's before breakfast, if it's at midnight. You come in, get your job done, and we'd love to take you to the Super Bowl this year. And I thought at the time, that sounds pretty tempting, but as a 17-year-old kid, I couldn't do all that and manage school and everything. So I did have to turn him down. And in the back of my mind, I said, boy, I'll just go to the Super Bowl next year. And, of course, we've never been back.
Jeez.
But at that point, I think we were 3 out of the last 4 years, the Vikings were in the Super Bowl. And you just expected that's how it's going to be. And, unfortunately, it really was never that way for me.
All right, time for 2 more. Copyright Bob Hagan for Dennis Ryan, a member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame's Award of Excellence. Joining the likes of former Vikings Fred Zamberletti, 2022, Sherm Lewis and Tom Moore, 2023, Monty Kiffin, 2024. The Vikings have had representation each year with this award, and we got a couple to close here. I'll start, Pete, then you get the finale, okay? Speaking of getting close to the Super Bowl, the 1998 team and Randy Moss's rookie year. Like, what was it like working with Randy? Because you, for better or for worse, would become close with these players because they relied on you so much, and it was your job, to make sure that they were 10 of 10, ready to perform, look good, have the right cleats, the whole thing. And also, so Moss and then 09 Brett Favre, because you knew Favre before he got here, I know that. But what was that whole situation like for you with Randy and with Brett?
Well, obviously I was fortunate to be around, a couple of the game's greatest players, along with a whole lot of other great players and a whole lot of other great people. But I do count my blessings that, I was able to work alongside both those guys who were in the Hall of Fame. So much fun to watch. The 98 season, I'd still say that Green Bay game might have been the funnest game of my 47 years. And then that 2009 season, I mean, that might even top the 98 season as far as what a fun season. And to be a part of that, and for Randy and Brett were both really good in the locker room with people. They liked people. I mean, Randy didn't necessarily like authority, but he did like the people that were around that locker room. He treated us great. He always packed his bag. He did everything with complete respect, and the same thing with Brett. And to have those guys, to be able to be around those guys and be a part of those seasons that they spent with the Vikings is very fortunate for me.
Peter?
Hey, D, I think the number of players, that you've gotten to know, I guess, if it's even possible, how do you just, the handful of guys that are your favorites, the guys that you miss the most, of all the ones that you worked with over the years, that maybe not everybody remembers, but guys that were just special to you?
Well, the list is long.
Yep.
I mean, I would say this: the thousands of players that I came in touch with, if there was a bad one in the group, I don't remember it. They're always good people and fun to be around. The one thing that's never changed, over those 47 years is the youth. It's always young guys, all of them energetic, all of them wanting to have fun and to be the best that they could be. And I'd say that's the one constant that we had for those 47 years. And they are and have always been the lifeblood
of the team, them and the coaches. So I'd say very fortunate to be around over 1,000 of those guys.
Well, that is.
And I do enjoy. I get invited to all the alumni events and to reconnect with those guys. Some of them are just obscure guys that nobody would know, but you remember all those guys, and they're all special people, and it's great to be included in that.
HOF.
That's absolutely beautiful. That was an honor. Dennis, I've chatted with you a bunch of times, Pete a million times. That was an honor, and it's an honor to have worked with you and to a certain extent alongside for X amount of years. You're salt of the earth, man. You're the genuine article, sheer class, and this is very, very worthy, off merit. And in closing, it behooves us to not only let people know that we have HOF on the radio right now, Dennis Ryan, who also is celebrating his birthday. Happy birthday, Dennis Ryan.
Oh. Hey, thank you.
It's a great day for you, man. Every day is a great day. I know that's how you always have looked at it, and I'm sure you do now. God bless you and your family, my friend, and I'm sure I'll see you soon, all right?
Bless you, and thank you, Paul. Thank you, Pete. Appreciate it.
All right, D. See ya.
Dennis Ryan. Peter, stay there for a second, all right? That's football immortality right there. And you talk about that coffee where, that was one of the first things. So, I got here full time in 98 and I start working PA in Dubé with KFAN. And, back then we would send people to practices and get sound, for maybe the sports updates or whatever. And I was that person a few times in 1998, my first full-time year here. And being a coffee snob, yet knowing nobody. I didn't know anybody there. I'd go into the locker room and wait for Randy Moss or Randall Cunningham or Corey Stringer, God rest his soul, Jeff Brady, Pete Bercich, whomever, to just get a little bit of sound for the sports update. And to a man, every time I would walk into the Winter Park locker room, the first thing I would smell was this robust French or Italian roast coffee. And I'm a coffee snob. And for the last 5 years, I've driven basically 2,200 miles one way to come here, 2,200 miles to go back when I was just doing race announcing. And I was like, where's that coffee? And is it, can you purchase it or whatever? And, they told me who made it, how important it was to the Covenant, and for it to be replenished all the time too, because players wanted it. And that's when you say that coffee, that takes me back to 98, man. And walking in the Vikings locker room, my first smell was not somebody's lotion, was not somebody's cologne, was not somebody's smelly pads. It was Dennis Ryan's French or Italian roast coffee, and I never forgot it.
Yeah, it was hilarious every year to see the rookies come in, and they had the coffee pot right there front and center down in Mankato, and they'd all be, I don't like coffee, I don't drink coffee. Well, wait till about 3, 4, 5 weeks into the season, and then it's a Wednesday, and you got to sit through 6 hours of film in the dark. You got to find some way to keep yourself awake. So in that regard, that coffee was a bloodline, so to speak, for everybody. And and the thing with Dennis too is the people that worked with him, that he hired, guys like Aaron Newman and Sammy Casalenda, and the list goes on and on and on about everybody that was in there.
Wow.
Was just absolutely, they were the best. And when people would say Dennis Ryan's the best, if you forgot something, you're on a plane on your way to a game in Dallas and you forgot something, you get down there and open your bag, and sure enough, or you get to your locker, sure enough, it's hanging in there.
Yeah.
It's the guy's attention to detail, and all the things that he had to manage. And this too, Paul, when we come back from these road games, now our road games could be in Europe or they could be California, wherever, and you pull up to the facility at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, we all get in our cars and go home and get a couple hours sleep. Well, Dennis and those guys would go right into work.
Yep.
And they would start their next day the minute they got off the bus.
Yeah.
And to this day, I still don't know how he did it for as long as he did. It blows my mind, because you know how you feel when you're getting off that plane.
It's hard work.
Getting off that bus, pulling in the facility. It's dark. It's, you fell asleep kind of on the plane. It's unbelievable that those guys go in and that's it. That's their Monday starting. And they were there until 5, 6, 7, 8 o'clock Monday night. It's unbelievable. The amount of work that man did.
And when you get back from a Monday or Sunday night football game in Seattle, okay, so you got a grass field, or at least you had a grass field, or wherever they have a grass field, it's a night game. You get back 3, 4, 5, 6 in the morning. Just to kind of like normalize this job for man and woman who run houses and or businesses, and there are certain things that have to be done, like washing your clothes. I mean, when it was a rainy night in Seattle or wherever, maybe back when you played at Oakland Alameda Coliseum and they had the freaking baseball field on which you played. So if it rained, those uniforms became absolutely soiled, and they had to do so much laundry to get those. Yeah. I mean, I just remember some of them with whom we talked, just dreading all the laundry that has to be done. So that's one down memory lane. How about this one, Pete? All right, so you'd been traveling with the team since the mid '90s. You became linebackers coach in 2002. My first year doing play-by-play was 2002. All right, so this is all new to me. Now, it changed when Childress got in 2006. But there was a time for me, 2, 3, 4, and 5, 4 years and longer for you, where we would fly on the road to play somebody and actually would go through TSA and then get to gate F6. All right. Remember F6?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I mean, Dennis was a freaking MVP during that. I'm not going to mention names, but I mean, if players were late or whomever was late, he was responsible or partially responsible for like trying to get them there quickly and shuffle them in and get them through this thing quickly. And then Childress rolled in and Brad's like, oh, let me get this straight. You're making your players go to gate F6 like they're going to Cancun? I mean, are you kidding me?
Oh, yeah.
So that started.
We used to park in the parking garage and everything, the whole thing,
Right. So, like, if you're even a second late, and all of a sudden the Lindbergh terminal parking, which was much smaller than it is now, is shut down, and you got to go to T2, you're done. I mean, everybody on the plane has to wait for you, and that did happen several times, but that just shows the extent of the responsibility he would take on himself, or was part of the job. He cared so much. He drove his coworkers hard. I mean, Dennis was a hard driver with respect, because he expected excellence, and excellence is entering the Pro Football Hall of Fame with the Awards of Excellence program. So that in a roundabout way is just kind of in the weeds how important a guy like that is.
Yeah. And Paul, and real quick, one last thing is, Viking fans. The Vikings did a piece on when the dome collapsed with the snow. And if you get a chance, if you can find it and get a chance to watch it, because one of my favorite parts is Dennis Ryan talking about how he had to get to the stadium, when right after it had collapsed, and he couldn't quite get there because the roads were blocked. So he literally just left his car and threw his keys in it and walked himself to the stadium. You know what I mean?
Wow.
It's like it's this. Yeah, he abandoned his car to get to the stadium, and that's the kind of dedication and commitment you're talking about. Because a lot of people are like, if I can't get to work, I'm just phoning in and I'm not showing up. Not an option, right? Not an option when you're not an option to be sick.
Yeah.
Not an option to miss a day or two here or there. You got the sniffles. You're not. No, it didn't matter. He was there every single day.
Damn, man.
And in that regard, it's like all those guys were. It's insane. They didn't have the option to be sick. So they just didn't get sick. And I don't know, man. It's very humbling to be around a guy like Dennis Ryan.
Amen.
Everybody used to call him the hardest working man in show business.
Yeah. Amen, man. And I miss you, and I look forward to seeing you not only in a month from Saturday for our first preseason game against the Houston Texans, US Bank Stadium. I'm sure I'll see you before then at Vikings training camp. I appreciate you joining the conversation. When somebody asked me to celebrate Dennis, I'm like, hell yeah. But I got to call Pete.
Yeah.
I got to call Pete because, I mean, those guys go so far back. I appreciate the help, my man. Have a good day, all right?
Yeah, you too, man.
See ya. That's Pete Bercich, analyst for the Vikings Radio Network, joining us 9 to noon to celebrate football immortality. Dennis Ryan. He's HOF in the Pro Football Hall of Fame's Award of Excellence wing. 47 years as equipment manager for the Minnesota Vikings. D. Ryan, salt of the earth.
HOF.
Let's give some money away. Here comes the con.
Yeah, fan and BigDeck.com want to give you a shot at some bonus bucks, national cash contest style. Keyword this hour is cash. Might win some with the keyword cash. You just enter that keyword, which is cash.
Hot days, humid nights, and non-stop plans. All that heat can increase hair shedding, while a packed schedule can add stress, which can impact your hair. Nutrafol's whole body approach and clinically tested formulas support your hair from within, so you can focus on living your best life all summer long.
Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist-recommended hair growth supplement brand trusted by over 1.5 million people. See thicker, stronger, faster-growing hair with less shedding in just 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol.
Thinning hair is different for men and women, so a one-size-fits-all approach to hair growth doesn't cut it. Nutrafol has multiple formulas for men and women that are tailored to different life stages, such as postpartum or menopause, and lifestyle factors, such as a plant-based lifestyle, so you can get just what you need. Plus, users of Nutrafol men reported no impact to sexual performance.
Thank goodness. While many supplements rely solely on ingredient studies, Nutrafol clinically tests final formulations to ensure their efficacy. In a clinical study, 84% of men showed improvement in their hair after 6 months taking Nutrafol Men Hair Growth Supplement, and 90% of women saw overall improvement in their hair after taking Nutrafol Women Hair Growth Supplement for 6 months.
Building a hair growth routine is easy. Order online, no prescription needed. Enjoy free shipping, automated deliveries, and up to 20% savings with Nutrafol subscription. Plus, get free naturopathic doctor consults and a Headspace meditation membership.
Start your hair growth journey with Nutrafol. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering listeners $10 off your first month subscription. Free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com. Enter promo code CULTURISTAS.
Find out why Nutrafol is the best-selling hair growth supplement brand at Nutrafol.com. Spelled Nutrafol.com. Promo code CULTURISTAS. That's Nutrafol.com. Promo code CULTURISTAS.
Did you know using your browser in incognito mode doesn't actually protect your privacy? Take back your privacy with IPVanish VPN. Just one tap and all your data, passwords, communications, browsing history, and more will be instantly protected. IPVanish makes you virtually invisible online. Use IPVanish on all your devices, anytime you go online at home and especially on public Wi-Fi. Get IPVanish now for 70% off a yearly plan with this exclusive offer at IPVanish.com/audio.
KFAN.
Alrighty now. It's 11:42 in the neighborhood. We went a little long there celebrating Dennis Ryan. No regrets.
Oh, it was an awesome conversation.
No regrets because that's what you do with immortality. And he's immortality, man. 47 years. 47 years. And that equipment manager job that's a tough job. I mean, there are long hours and a lot of lifting, a lot of cleaning, a lot of mood managing. And a lot goes into it, so that was cool. But since we were running late, I didn't get a chance to close the Bercich portion of the equation, talking about the A topic, his YouTube channel.
Oh my gosh! Can you more about it?
The Eye in the Sky. What is it? At Pete Bercich 56?
At Pete Bercich 56 on YouTube. Yeah, the Eye in the Sky podcast.
Yeah. So YouTubers. Those of you who like those YouTube shorts, I like those YouTube shorts a lot. Twitter's my only social media outlet. So I ain't seeing these shorts on TikTok or Insta or Nordo's favorite Finsta or Nordo's second favorite Snapchat. I'm not seeing them there. I watch them a lot on YouTube.
Yeah.
Waiting for the first Bercich short to pop up.
I always love that one.
Does he have anybody on staff cutting up his shorts?
Yeah.
Does he have a staff?
Yeah, I don't think he has a staff. I think he's still trying to figure out how to upload his videos. I'm not sure. He's got 318 subscribers.
Oh.
And if you go to YouTube, we encourage you to do it because I know at some point there's going to be the dam breaking. There's going to be a fervor, a rush of videos and content that are popping up on YouTube.
Yeah.
And you can you don't search The Eye in the Sky. I know that's the name of the channel.
Unless you're Alan Parsons fans.
Correct.
Or
If you're
Chicago Bulls fans and you want to relive and now from North Carolina, number 23, Michael Jordan.
That used to be the signature of signature intros, though, right?
The bomb.
Like the Goosebumps bit, the whole thing. What was the actual song?
Eye in the Sky by Alan.
That was the name. Okay.
Yeah, the do.
That's my bad. Yeah, now I get it.
That I remember that, and this is I'm completely.
Why did I think it was Eminence Front? I don't know why.
I'm preaching to myself right now. Some old schoolers may remember it, but when the Philadelphia 76ers played in the Spectrum, and I'm living in Washington, D.C., and I'm a massive Washington Bullets fan, and Dick Motta's, speaking of, we started the show with things that used to be said that are never said anymore, and there's some that probably shouldn't be said anymore.
Yeah.
Dick Motta, coach of the Washington Bullets when I was 12, never forgot it. They were the San Antonio Spurs were in the Eastern Conference, and they had some good players like George Gervin, nicknamed the Iceman.
Yeah.
Larry Keenan, Mark Olberding, who may have played at the University of Minnesota. So they had a really good team. So did the Bullets with Elvin Hayes, Wes Unseld, Kevin Greavy and the gang. When they would play the Sixers at the first the story. So the Bullets are down, I think, 3-1 to the Spurs before the Eastern Conference Finals. And they were supposed to win the series. Spurs are up 3-1, Bullets win, now it's 3-2. And Dick Motta is asked a question after the game by a member of the assembled media, might have been young Alec, and about coming back in the series. And he said, the opera ain't over till the fat lady sings.
I always love that one.
Wouldn't unfurled that one, KO. But then they would play the Philadelphia 76ers. I don't know the name of their public address announcer. I should, but I don't. But when Dr. J was introduced, I mean, the roar in the Spectrum crowd when this guy would say, number with a Philly, just a hard East Coast accent. Yeah. Number 6 from the University of Massachusetts, Julius Erving. Yeah. Oh, that was immortality for intros.
In-arena vibes are always, just...
There it is.
Yeah. I think this is called Sirius by Alan Parsons.
Is it?
Yeah.
Number 23 from North Carolina. Ladies and gentlemen, Michael Jordan. Number whatever from wherever, Scottie Pippen. Ooh. Number whatever from nowhere, nicknamed the Worm, Dennis Rodman. And the place would just go nuts. Just like the program director here if we don't break, because then we're gonna trickle into the program. We don't want to do.
Did you know using your browser in incognito mode doesn't actually protect your privacy? Take back your privacy with IPVanish VPN. Just one tap and all your data, passwords, communications, browsing history, and more will be instantly protected. IPVanish makes you virtually invisible online. Use IPVanish on all your devices, anytime you go online at home and especially on public Wi-Fi. Get IPVanish now for 70% off a yearly plan with this exclusive offer at ipvanish.com/audio.
That back after. I can't wait. We're still having fun. We're number one. Thank you very much for listening to 9 to Noon. Look forward to tomorrow. Ben Lieber's inclusion will be fantastic, plus much more. For Eric Nordquist, I'm Paul Allen. Here comes Big Daddy Khan to put a wrap on the show.
Good stuff.
The game is over. Now, what did I do wrong?
Time for two more.
Started the show, and man, we're just playing. We're filling a segment with old sayings like never looking a gift horse in the mouth. Tell you it lost momentum fast and it went south. But how else would you expect us to begin? You know Grandma was a huge fan of Errol Flynn. And in your glass house, man, you never throw stones. But thanks to Florio, always digging for them bones. Too many cooks, you hear, spoil the broth. Sauce prefers phallic designs in his cappuccino froth. Something about squeaky wheels and getting grease. It evokes dice rolls and feeding the geese. But hey, look at the time to get kicking birds and hands and bushes and counting unhatched chickens. Tomorrow, more HOF on a Thursday show. Discretion is the better part of valor, though.
I love it, baby. Woo!
Podcast today's Paul Allen Show, or listen back to previous show and interviews by going to the iHeartRadio app or KFAN.
Every day has a to-do list, but adding Enjoy Belvita to yours can help you knock out the rest of it. Belvita breakfast biscuits are a tasty and convenient breakfast option when paired with low-fat yogurt and fruit that provides steady energy all morning. While Belvita Energy Snack Bites give you the perfect mid-morning refuel. Best part, they both taste great. So make the most out of your morning with a bite of Belvita. Pick up a pack of Belvita at your local store today.
Every business has an ambition. PayPal Open is the platform designed to help you grow into yours. With business loans so you can expand and access to hundreds of millions of PayPal customers worldwide. And your customers can pay all the ways they want with PayPal, Venmo, Pay Later, and all major cards, so you can focus on scaling up. When it's time to get growing, there's one platform for all business. PayPal Open. Grow today at paypalopen.com. Loans subject to approval in available locations.
Hey, it's me, your heart. Mind if I pick the next song? Listen, even though we're eating better, people who've had one heart attack are at higher risk of another. But Repatha Evolocumab plus a statin lowers LDL-C, our bad cholesterol, and our heart attack risk. So let's talk to our doctor about Repatha.
Do not take Repatha if you're allergic to it. Serious allergic reactions can occur. Get medical help right away if you have trouble breathing or swallowing, swelling of the face, lips, tongue, throat, or arms. Common side effects include runny nose, sore throat, common cold symptoms, flu or flu-like symptoms, back pain, high blood sugar, and redness, pain, or bruising at the injection site. View the important safety information in our banner. Listen to your heart. Ask your doctor about Repatha.
Here at the Almond Joy Factory, where tropical vibes abound, we use soft, fresh-tasting coconut.
The crunchiest almonds and delicious chocolate candy.
Ah, but do you know what our most important ingredient is? Sometimes you feel like a nut.
Sometimes you don't.
Almond Joy's got nuts and something even way better than that. Yes, Almond Joy is made with almonds and joy.